Howdy, howdy, howdy. So this is a Cohiba Black once again. I've been consistent with these Cohibas. It is a Thursday afternoon, a cloudy, cold, windy Thursday afternoon in November. And life's good to me. And so the title of this video is going to be Having a Great Attitude Makes a Difference. That's what the title of this vlog is going to be. Um, so just to kind of summarize, I was watched about half of this documentary. It's of this YouTuber. His name's Boogie2988. He was like a big famous YouTuber, years back when YouTube first started in I think 2006. But he got viral in the mid 2010s, and he made a lot of money. And now now he's not making so much money. Now he's losing money. Getting his house foreclosed and stuff. And at one point he had over $500,000 in income in 1 year, and now he's got like almost nothing. Um, but excuse me, um, but basically, like, everything that this person, like, it's kind of showing the downfall of this person's success and happiness and all that stuff. And I'm kind of listening to it, and it kind of made me it gave me a brainstorming idea today to make a vlog on it. And I think in I don't know how it is in other countries, but I think in the United States, you know I think that there's it's like a what I call it, an epidemic. I don't know. It's like an epidemic of people that are unconfident, right? And they don't realize, so they're in this circle where they don't realize that they're being unconfident. They do things that hurt themselves financially, socially, psychologically, whatever it is, mentally, whatever. It could be they gain weight, whatever, or whatever, relationships, whatever you want to name as an example. And like, they're in this never-ending loop where they, like, this guy would just, he would blow money because he likes to use money on stuff to make his life easier, or to enjoy things, but the guy doesn't have money to blow, right? And it was like a never-ending excuse as to why he had to spend money on stuff that he didn't need and to not get a job. And it just made me think, like, we're kind of we're in a world where the United States, I think, what do they say, like half of Americans are in debt, like 40 grand, right? I think it's like the average American's like $10,000 to $20,000 in debt, right? And a lot of that is college tuition, right? Because people want to have a better living, and tuition loans and all that. And some of the stuff is out of their control, right? Um, but some of it isn't. Like, you don't have to go to college. Like, you don't have to be fed the lie that you need to go to college. But that's its own thing, right? Like, I'm I live in a rural community, right, where I'm on the border with Pennsylvania and New York, and it's ironic, but some people like to badmouth the community and say, "Oh, there's not a lot of opportunity," but there's a ton of opportunity, right? Because we have manufacturing plants, we have fast food, we have all different types of manufacturing, we have construction jobs, we have all different types, right? Have all different types of jobs, all different types of opportunities to make money and make capital. I don't really like to say money. I like to say capital, because that's really what it is. It's making capital. Um, and It's how you spend that money, how you invest that money. Like, you know, are you going to pay yourself? And what do I mean by that? Like, are you going to save a little bit aside and then pay the rest for, expenses or whatever, or, to pay bills, and then, whatever's left over, it's, play money, or, and I'm not saying you should blow all your money, because you should always have money saved. But it's like, we're in we're in a world where delayed gratification is looked down upon. Like, for example, and I kind of had this just recently, but I did it because I could afford it at the time because of my job. But like video games, like you can pre-order a game for like if you want the top edition game, which I did, that's like $100, right? You don't have to get it, but I'm a big fan of that game. But on much bigger scales, there's people that just blow money on dumb stuff. Like this person had crypto, and then he lost crypto because he withdrew it probably at a loss, and just he they squander their opportunities. And every I shouldn't say everybody, but people in general, because people are people. People are not perfect. We're not cyborgs, right? People want to indulge in their temptations, whatever it is, right? And that's what ultimately hurts us in the end, right? Um, is temptations. And I guess if you want to get real deep into it, because I like this part, it's kind of cool because it kind of makes me think of the church and stuff. And I'm not religious, but it comes down to temptations. And if you can deliver yourself from temptation, to kind of quote a prayer, then you're kind of, and I'm not trying to do a pun here, but you reach towards salvation. I know that sounds weird because I'm not religious, but you reach salvation because you're free of all the chains and shackles of temptations, of buying things that you don't need, of splurging stuff all the time on stuff that you don't need, right? Or unnecessary things, like living beyond your means. And it's crazy. Like this guy was worried about looking broke in front of his friends or family or whatever, and it's like, who cares if you look broke, right? Like that's your own social construct saying that you're broke. That's your own self-talk. That's negative self-talk of yourself. Um, and the same thing with like he would talk about his weight, and he said he probably wouldn't live past 60 years old because he's morbidly obese. Well, you don't have to go overnight and lose all that weight, right? Just do walks. Do a quarter mile. Do a half a mile. You don't have to run. Just move around a little bit, right? Change up your diet just a little bit. Restrict your calories just a little bit, right? Doesn't mean that you got to do, crazy changes to your lifestyle. And a lot of people are like that. They're in that mindset where they're like, "Oh, I can't do this." And it's like, "Yes, you can do it. But get on medication, get on therapy. Do that. Do it." And so many people underestimate themselves. And they and there's a game artist, I wouldn't say a pickup artist because he's got game. Mr. Locario is his YouTube name. And the truth is truly inside you. Confidence is key. Um, if you have a great attitude, you come into work, you like what you do, even if other people are in a bad mood, it rubs off on them and it makes their day just a little bit better. Even if it doesn't seem like it, it makes it a little bit better, right? And that's how I look at it. You know? Be nice to people that don't like you, right? It's almost like Jesus Christ, right? They crucified him on a cross. They persecuted him, right? On the cross. And I'm not religious. Just to repeat that, I'm not religious. But they persecuted him on the cross. And I don't know the exact Bible quote, but he basically said, like, you guys don't realize what you're doing. You don't realize what you're doing because you're in your feelings or whatever, I don't know the exact quote, so don't ask me. Don't ask me for scriptures or quotes or any of that stuff. Um, but yeah, I think stuff like that, like, it's true. Like, people don't realize what they're doing in general. Like, I don't think they know happiness. Like, they don't know it. It doesn't mean I mean, you know, I'm different. Everybody's different. Like, people need to stop comparing themselves to other people, right? Because it's like, you don't have to be me. I don't have to be you. Um, and you don't have to be other people. Just do shit that you're good at. That's it. That's it. And there's just so many people that sell themselves short every step of the way. And they may not realize it until it's too late, when they're on their deathbed or something. And or they die of old age or whatever, and they'll be like, man, I really missed out on this, or taking that job, or working a little bit more, or working a little less, whatever it is. For me, it's working more. I want to work more. That's not for everybody, and I get it. For me, I don't care, because my goal is to make as much capital. Well, that's number two. Number one is to learn as many skills as possible in my job, work well with people, try to understand people, try to work on interpersonal relationships with people, and just get good at what you're doing, right? And a lot of people are just kind of coasting by, and I'm not one of them. I'm not. I'm not. But I gotta light this under the table because of the wind. But yeah, people sell themselves short every day. And I hear it, and it's like you have to reprogram yourself. Go to therapy. Go to therapy and rewire your brain. Because I've done that shit. And you would be surprised if you actually listen to your therapist and you get on medication, right? And again, it might take multiple therapists. It might take multiple medicines, because it took me 3 or 4 medicines to finally find the right medicine that worked for me, where I didn't feel like a zombie. I felt genuinely happy. I felt mellow. Basically, nothing could break me. And, you rewire how you think of stuff, right? Where you're not always negative anymore. And a lot of people are afraid of change, so they never want to change, so then they're just stuck in being miserable. Right? So, like, I was talking to my one friend, and, he's not a cigar fan, which, whatever, that's their own thing. But he had, a form of cancer when he was younger. I think he got cured of it, and it got treated, and, he's a lawyer. Like, he's not just any lawyer, a Manhattan lawyer, like a big lawyer. He's a lawyer of a giant firm that's making, I would say probably millions every year. I don't know the numbers, but I'm gonna say probably millions, at least, right? He's got his own private plane, and he enjoys the fruits of his labor. And, like, when I watch him, right, we don't always agree eye to eye on stuff, right? And I'm sure our personalities and, archetypes kind of clash, right? Because we're vastly polar opposites of people from vastly different communities. One being rural, one being, the what do you call it? The inner city or the big city, just different culture, right? And it's like, that person likes what they do. They vlog about, their profession. They like what they do. They like helping people. And, the one person was like, he told me, well, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'll say it anyways. He might not like me saying it, but he felt like he had a point where he felt like his advice wasn't making a difference. And I said, no. And this was early on, and I said, no, you got to keep going. You got to keep doing it, because that's how I found you. And I know if you found me, and I like your organization, you're gonna find more people, you know. And now this guy's got like 50,000 subscribers. He's helping people all the time. Um, smart people. Um, and then I talked to the other guy, and they're good too. And yeah, I mean, he actually seems happy. He's pretty. He can manage his emotions pretty good, right? Maybe not as good as me, but I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, but he manages his emotions probably the best out of all other people I've noticed, right? And I just wish there was more people out there that are like that, right? You know, and that's how you grow. Like for me, how I grow is, I said to myself, I said, I have to learn the other side, and I have to understand what they're thinking, within reason, right? If it's not like, unreasonable, and in try to understand them, and then say, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, I'm willing to learn these skills, and I like what I do, and blah blah blah, and it's not manipulative. Like it's truly genuine when I say it, you know, and you're always learning, and you tell them that, like, I'm learning a lot. This is where I'm at. I feel really good in it. I don't mind the work. I don't mind if, I do 12s for a week. Doesn't bother me. There's very few people that are like that. Um, and I think he smiled and laughed, and, we went on our day, but, it's things like that make a big difference in your overall happiness in your life, is being able to understand those people, your, I don't want to really say opponent, but the opposing side, I guess you could say, and learn from legitimate things and build on that. And so that's why, like, I had to, like, stop watching that one YouTube documentary of that YouTuber, because it was like he wasn't finding any solutions to his problems. It was just like, oh, I'm big, I'm fat, I'm worthless, I'm poor, I don't want to look poor. And it's like, who cares if you look poor? Nobody goes around saying to another person, hey, look at this guy, he's poor. Like, there might be some people, but I think that that's stupid. It's like, who cares, right? Who cares? You can make something of yourself. We're not in a third world, and this is kind of where I break from the traditional progressive in me, and I kind of follow the alignment of conservatives and maybe some Republican talking points. But there is a point where you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and literally carve out your own life. You have to sacrifice time away from your family, and if you have to, and if you like doing it, sell your soul and make money, make capital. Make capital, because capital, at the end of the day, if it's managed right and you don't squander on temptations and dumb things, can equate happiness in the world. It can ease suffering in the world. Capital can also, there's very wealthy people that do very, tremendous things, even though, there are some controversial people, like Jeff Bezos does charities, and I'm sure they do it also for a tax write-off. Can't think of the other one. There was another one. Bill Gates, he did a thing for vaccines in Africa or something. These are just examples. But, like, it's, I don't know, like, where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought. But, like, there's good in the world. I forget what I was, what my point was after I rambled on. But there's good in the world. And, but yeah, you got to carve out your own thing, and that's what my one friend did. I don't know what he did before that, but he got into employment law, and he did that, and now he's a relatively new old guy, I guess you could say. He's been in his occupation for 13 years, and he's not poor, I'll tell you that. He's well off. He doesn't want to say he's well off, because he doesn't want to make people jealous, but I say screw it and just say that you're well off. Who cares, right? Like, only insecure people are going to denigrate you for being rich or filthy rich or well off or middle class, whatever, right? Like, it's okay to say, hey, I make a good amount of money and I like helping people and I like improving the world by doing what I'm doing, right? And that's kind of how I look at it, and that's kind of how that's how he pretty much looks at it too. And but yeah, it's life is what you make it. So if you go into a job and you're miserable, then that energy could potentially, very likely, rub off on other people, right? And and vice versa. Like, if you're happy, maybe that person that might hate your guts is just a little bit less likely to yell at you. Maybe they still will, but like they'll think twice after it, right? You might change their mind about you. They might change their mind about you. And That's kind of how I look at it. Like, I look at it as, it's like, work is not a thing anymore of to like get pissed off, it's to learn the stuff, do as best you can, and do things safe. It's not a thing to stress out about. To me, it's almost like school. It's all about learning. Um, it's pretty much like school, but you get paid to do it. You get paid to learn, even while you know your job, maybe in and out. You're still learning something. You're learning something every day. And I make sure every single day I learn something new, whatever it is, to make a mistake that's less of a mistake and takes less downtime, less time, messing with stuff with different buttons and machines, and less time on setup or putting stuff together quicker or faster or whatever, and also on the opposite of that, slowing down and making sure that you're fixing your mistakes right then and there, and understanding all the shit. And that's really all you can do. You can't really control what jealous people think of you or hateful people think of you, right? Because like I said at the beginning of the video, they did the same thing with Jesus Christ on the cross. And he sacrificed his life for all of us, If you look at Judaism, you look at Islam, and of course Christianity, they all agree that Jesus was a real person, and he was he was a legit person, and he was a good person for what he did. He was a very charitable person, and he preached to people that he didn't raise a cult, right? He was open arms to a lot of people, I should say. And he wasn't very judgmental, I guess if they even said that if Jesus was